The 800-page first date. At 9:24 in the evening on December 18th, 2013, French journalist Judith Duportail sent a message to her first Tinder match. Bonjour. 4 years later, she asked Tinder what it remembered about her. The answer was approximately 800 pages. 800 pages of locations, interests, education, Facebook likes, Instagram likes, preferred ages, app activity, and private conversations. She had opened Tinder 920 times. She had matched with 870 people. She had found about 1,700 messages she'd sent since joining, including hopes, fears, flirtations, sexual preferences, and jokes she had apparently considered good enough to reuse on several different men. Tinder remembered dates she'd forgotten, conversations she'd buried, and versions of herself she might have preferred to leave in 2014. It was less like receiving an account statement and more like discovering that your first dates had been attended by a silent court stenographer. And Tinder didn't simply hand this material over when she asked. Duportail sought help from privacy activist Paul-Olivier Dehaye and human rights lawyer Ravi Nak. There were complaints to 2 data protection authorities, assistance from Norwegian consumer advocates, and repeated conversations with Tinder. She wanted more than just the messages. Tinder was reportedly calculating a desirability score for its users, and Duportail wanted to know her score and how it had been produced. She never received that. She eventually obtained part of her data only after identifying herself as a journalist. Friends who had submitted similar requests reportedly received no response. The 800 pages were not casually returned. They were clawed back. And even then, Tinder gave her the history it had collected, not necessarily the conclusions it had drawn. And that distinction matters. A company may know where you went, what you clicked, and who you contacted. But it also may infer when you're lonely, what attracts you, how quickly you respond, whose attention you value, which words keep you engaged, and what version of yourself appears after midnight. Duportail thought she'd been using Tinder. Tinder had also been using her, maybe more so. That's what this episode is about, not simply why companies collect information. The deeper question is why human beings repeatedly accept exchanges they don't trust. We say privacy matters, then we provide our contacts to find friends, our location to find coffee, our face to unlock a phone, and our romantic history to an app that advertises with flames. This is what's called the privacy paradox. But calling it a paradox can make it sound like hypocrisy. It's much more revealing than that. The human mind feels immediate reward much more clearly than invisible future costs. It experiences each disclosure separately, while the institution assembles them. It fears being excluded from the present more than being manipulated in the future. We think we're just giving away facts. The institution may be acquiring the ability to predict us. Research on privacy behavior has found that our decisions are shaped by uncertainty about future consequences, by the immediate context in which a choice is presented, and by concerns that are surprisingly easy for commercial or governmental interests to manipulate. These are not merely stupid decisions. They are predictable limitations of an emotional human mind, and they leave us ripe for picking. Chapter 1. The reward is now, the cost is somewhere else. Imagine opening a navigation app. It asks for your location. That seems reasonable. A map without your location is just an opinion about streets. You press Allow. The app immediately tells you where to turn. The benefit is obvious. You were lost, now you're slightly less lost. That's an excellent transaction from the perspective of the present moment. But the potential future value of location information is harder to feel. One location point means very little. 1,000 points may reveal where you live, where you work, which clinic you visit, where you worship, who you sleep beside, and which buildings you enter immediately after telling your employer that you're sick. The individual sees a dot on a map. The system sees a life with opening hours. That mismatch existed before smartphones. On July 20, 1841, Louis Tappan established the Mercantile Agency in New York City. American commerce was expanding. Merchants increasingly did business with people that they didn't personally know. A seller in New York might be asked to extend credit to a businessman hundreds of miles away. Was he reliable? Did he pay his debts? Did he own what he claimed to own? The mercantile agency gathered reports about businesses and their owners. Later commercial reference books offered ratings covering merchants, manufacturers, and traders. By 1878, the agency advertised detailed information about a person's antecedents, character, capacity, capital, and credit. That is a substantial amount of a human being to fit between two covers. The service solved a real problem. Credit depends on trust, and trust becomes difficult when strangers trade across large distances. But it also created a new form of power. A merchant was no longer only a shopkeeper known by his customers and neighbors. He was also an entry in someone else's book. His access to capital could depend on information he hadn't written, collected by people he might never meet, and interpreted through categories that he didn't control. The 19th century businessman had become an early data profile. Somewhere, a merchant undoubtedly discovered that his entire character had been compressed into the Victorian equivalent of a one-star review. The same bargain operates today. A credit system offers access to money. A dating service offers access to partners. A professional network offers access to work. A social platform offers access to friends, audiences, and status. The service can be genuinely useful. That usefulness is precisely what makes the bargain powerful. The benefit is immediate and concrete. The data cost is delayed, uncertain, and almost impossible to price. Human beings evolved to evaluate visible exchanges. I give you berries, you give me fish. I help you repair your roof, you help defend the village. The modern exchange is different. I give you years of behavioral signals from which you may derive unknown predictions, sell unknown access, and make unknown decisions at an unknown time. And in return, my phone remembers where I parked. The parking location wins, not because privacy means nothing, but because the parking location exists now. The future dossier does not. The reward has a button. The cost has a privacy policy. And the privacy policy has been written by 17 attorneys who appear to be paid by the dependent clause. Hey, if you're enjoying this exploration, please like and subscribe. These videos are my passion, and your support helps other people discover these ideas. Tell me in the comments what worked, what didn't, or what part of human nature you'd like to explore next. Chapter 2. You are free to refuse provided you do not wish to participate. The modern privacy bargain is often defended as voluntary. No one forced you to install the app. No one forced you to create an account. No one forced you to press accept. Technically, this is true. Technically, you're also free to go live in a cabin, communicate by carrier pigeon, and navigate by asking strangers at gas stations. Human beings often reveal information because information has become the admission price. The history of passports illustrates this basic structure. The United States began issuing passports shortly after its founding, but for much of the 19th century, American citizens generally didn't need one to travel abroad. Requirements appeared during periods of war and emergency. Passports were required for a period during the Civil War, again during World War I, and continuously for overseas travel after legislation passed in 1941. A passport provides enormous value. It establishes identity and nationality. It can help secure protection abroad. It allows a government to admit one person while excluding another. But the underlying exchange is clear. To move through the system, you must first become legible to the system. Your name, your nationality, your birthplace, your photograph, your identifying details. Freedom of movement becomes available after successful completion of the form. Modern digital life repeats this arrangement constantly. To find friends, upload your contacts. To receive local results, reveal your location. To apply for work, construct a searchable professional history. To enter the dating market, describe the people you desire. To prove you're human, spend 12 minutes identifying traffic lights for a machine. The refusal remains possible, but refusal carries a cost. That cost might be inconvenience. It might be loneliness. It might be reduced employment, limited credit, restricted movement, or exclusion from the place where everybody else is already conducting business. That's why consent doesn't fully explain the bargain. Consent describes the button press. It doesn't describe the world surrounding the button. Imagine that every restaurant in town requires customers to reveal their contacts, browsing history, and current location before being served. You can refuse. There's a park bench outside. Enjoy your Ziploc bag sandwich. The institution defines the admission price. It writes the terms. It designs the screen. It chooses which button is bright and which button is hidden beneath Manage Advanced Preferences. Then it records the outcome as your free and enthusiastic choice. This is not necessarily a secret conspiracy. It's often ordinary product design aligned with ordinary business incentives. A company benefits when more people enter and provide more information. The user benefits when the service works quickly. Both sides receive something valuable, but only one side can see the full exchange. The user knows what the service did this afternoon. The institution can measure what millions of users did for years. That difference in visibility becomes a difference in power. The privacy banner captures the relationship beautifully. One button says, "Accept all." The other says, "Manage 843 partners individually while your dinner gets cold." The first button is consent. The second is a new career. Chapter 3. Human beings cannot feel a database. When Judith Duportail read her Tinder file, one phrase helped explain her reaction. Technology sociologist Luke Stark told her that human beings can't feel data. Seeing the material printed changed the experience. We are physical creatures. A file with weight and thickness makes accumulation emotionally real in a way that invisible records don't. A single swipe doesn't feel like surveillance. A search doesn't feel like confession. Opening an app at 11:47 at night doesn't feel like psychological evidence. Each action disappears behind us, but the actions don't necessarily disappear for the collector. Imagine walking through your day dropping grains of sand. One at breakfast, one at work, one while searching a medical symptom, one when running into your ex on Instagram, one when buying something, one while changing your mind before buying it. To you, every grain is trivial. To the platform, they arrive at the same warehouse. Eventually, the warehouse contains a statue of you, not a perfect statue. It may misunderstand you. It may exaggerate parts of your behavior and miss everything you never did online. It'll probably have unflattering lighting, but it does not need to know your soul. It only needs to predict your next step more accurately than chance. This is why asking, "What could anyone do with this one fact?" misses the point. The power rarely lies in the one fact. It lies in the combination. A location plus a search, a purchase plus an income estimate, a contact list plus a political interest, a sleep pattern plus a late-night advertisement. The individual disclosures may be harmless. The assembled pattern may be deeply revealing. History gives us a far more serious example of why information cannot be judged only by the purpose for which it was first collected. After Germany occupied the Netherlands in 1940, the Nazi administration imposed a series of anti-Jewish measures. In July 1941, the occupation authorities required Jews to register themselves. A total of 159,806 people were registered, including refugees and people from mixed marriages. Of course, ordinary commercial tracking is not equivalent to Nazi persecution. The lesson is narrower and more important. Information can outlive the conditions under which it was collected. Records can survive changes in government, ownership, law, ideology, and intent. A database built for administration can become a tool of exclusion. A registry built under one set of promises can be used under another. The first collector does not control every future use. The person inside the file controls even less. People often respond to privacy concerns by saying, "I have nothing to hide." But privacy is not merely the concealment of wrongdoing. It's the ability to prevent unknown people from assembling unlimited conclusions about ordinary life. You may have nothing to hide from the person collecting the information today, but you don't know who will own it tomorrow, and you don't know what future rules will make it important. You can't defend yourself against an inference you're never allowed to see. Duportail received hundreds of pages of facts. She still didn't receive Tinder's desirability score. She could inspect much of what went into the machine, but she couldn't expect the judgment that came out of it. And that's the modern imbalance. The institution knows the person. The person may not know the category. Chapter 4. The service is free because the prediction is valuable. In 2014, a Facebook application often called This Is Your Digital Life invited users to complete personality questions and share profile information. A few 100,000 people interacted directly with the app. But Facebook's system at the time also allowed applications to collect information associated with many of those users' friends. People who never took the quiz became part of the dataset. The Federal Trade Commission later found that Cambridge Analytica used deceptively obtained Facebook information for voter profiling and targeting. The data was used to generate personality scores and match them with voter records. Facebook later estimated that information associated with as many as 87 million people might have been improperly shared. The visible experience was a quiz, something light, something amusing. Which personality type are you? Which historical figure shares your emotional wounds? Which potato best represents your leadership style? The underlying value was not the quiz result. The value was classification. The application did not need to know a person perfectly. It needed signals that might help separate anxious people from confident people, impulsive people from cautious people, and politically persuadable people from those who'd already made up their minds. This is the deeper transaction behind many free services. We receive usefulness, entertainment, or connection. The institution receives data that may improve prediction. Prediction makes persuasion cheaper. A system doesn't have to control your mind. The standard is far too dramatic. It only needs to increase the probability of an action. Show one person a message about hope. Show another a message about danger. Give one user reassurance, give another anger. Remind someone that a product is scarce. Tell someone else that everyone has just joined. Move the right message to the top of the screen at the right moment. That's not mind control, it's influence with perfect timing. And timing matters because human preferences are not permanently fixed. They changed with context. A person may ignore an advertisement at noon and buy the same product at 10:45 at night. The algorithm doesn't need to understand your soul. It only needs to know that judgment changes after the children are asleep and the sweatpants are taken in control of the household. We tend to judge an interface by its visible purpose. A dating app is for dating. A video platform is for watching videos. A social network is for maintaining friendships with people whose birthdays we would otherwise never know. But the interface is not necessarily the entire business. It can also be the environment in which behavioral material is produced. The service team earns which image stops you, which headline angers you, which face reassures you, which idea you share without reading, which price makes you hesitate, which price makes you return. We think we're describing ourselves to the service. The service is teaching itself how to move us. Chapter 5, Ripe for Picking. There's one final reason the privacy bargain cannot be explained as a simple personal choice. The choices themselves can be engineered. The Federal Trade Commission uses the term dark patterns for design techniques that can manipulate people into buying products, remaining subscribed, or surrendering more personal information than they intended. These patterns include hiding important terms, pre-selecting privacy-invasive options, disguising advertisements, making cancellations difficult, and presenting choices in a way that favor the business. In 2024, an international review examined 642 websites and mobile applications offering subscription services. Nearly 76% appeared to use at least one possible dark pattern. Nearly 67% appeared to use more than one. The review did not determine that every identified practice was illegal, but it showed how widespread potentially manipulative design has become. This matters because the privacy bargain is not negotiated between equal minds. On one side is an institution capable of testing thousands of versions of a button. It can measure which wording gets more clicks, which color produces less resistance, which warning causes abandonment, which cancellation path exhausts people most efficiently without causing too many complaints. On the other side is a human being trying to order socks. The institution is persistent. The human is busy. The institution remembers every experiment. The human has 3% battery. The institution can wait. The human wants the pop-up gone now. Our limitations line up perfectly for the harvest. We feel immediate rewards more strongly than remote risks. We feel exclusion from the group, marketplace, or opportunity in front of us. We cannot naturally perceive how small disclosures accumulate. We confuse familiar brands and friendly interfaces with safety, and eventually we become exhausted. No person can meaningfully evaluate every privacy policy attached to every website, automobile, television, payment service, fitness tracker, appliance, doorbell, and toothbrush that has recently developed Wi-Fi. The user doesn't press accept after a mature philosophical inquiry into informational autonomy. The user presses accept because the video won't play. This is what makes us ripe for picking. Not stupidity, not indifference. Human limitation meeting institutional memory. The privacy bargain is negotiated between an organization that can remember everything and a person who may not remember why they opened the app. And the system gets another chance tomorrow. It doesn't have to win every decision. It only has to make surrender easier than resistance. Conclusion: the bargain our minds were not built to make. Judith Duportail fought to recover 800 pages from Tinder. 19th-century merchants became entries in commercial credit books. International movement became connected to official identity records. Dutch registration records demonstrated how information can acquire purposes far beyond the moment of collection. A personality quiz helped expose tens of millions of people to political profiling. Modern interfaces now use tested design techniques to make disclosure easier than refusal. These stories are not morally identical. Some systems are necessary, some are useful, some are exploitative, some create dangers their designers may have never intended. But the same limitation appears beneath them. We feel access. We don't feel accumulation. We experience the service at the moment it helps us. We don't experience the future dossier being assembled about us behind it. We think we're surrendering isolated pieces of information. The institution sees patterns. We see what we clicked. The institution may see what we are likely to do next. And because the true cost remains invisible, someone else gets to assign its price. The privacy paradox is not that people secretly don't care about privacy. It's that privacy asks us to defend an invisible future self against a visible present reward. The map works now. The match appears now. The discount expires now. The friends, customers, and opportunities are waiting now. The manipulation is later, maybe, somewhere. The human nervous system was not built for that contest, and the company gets to design the button. We thought we were paying with information, but information is just the raw material. What we're really surrendering is power. The power to decide who may know us, the power to see the categories placed around us, the power to challenge the predictions made about us, and the power to limit what someone else may do with what they know. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to see when I make more. I make these videos totally for free, and your support really helps the channel grow. You can also share this with someone you think will like it. Check out the Amazon links to cool stuff in the description, and tip me if you feel so inclined. Venmo at History of Human Nature. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.